Okay, we're going to bring the panel up, and as we bring the panel up, we're going to share a little bit about them. Okay?
So we're going to bring the first group up.
The first group, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to let you go ahead, because I'm about to jack that up.
You're going to jack it up. Well, I'm going to introduce them one by one. I know these people personally, so I don't need my cue cards. The first young lady we're going to bring to the platform will be Pastor Rita Moore. I call her Riri. Rita is a very, very close friend of ours. She was here in the beginning. Before there was a 20-year, Rita was in the midst.
Yes.
Rita was the one that went with my husband to make sure that he got divorced from the first mistake, the marriage he had.
It's the truth.
We
doing the truth. So
from the first mistake he made, she had to make sure that he got it rectified so he can make the right choice.
Thank you, Rita.
You're welcome.
So that's where Rita came in. But in all seriousness, Rita is a very close friend of ours. She loves the Lord. She can speak about every aspect of this relationship. She's been single. She's been married. She has life after marriage. So you have like a wealth of information right here standing before you. So that is Miss Rita.
You know, also, God is relational. So what you're going to hear is a lot of years of relationships that we've had through the years. Like with Rita, majority of the panel were a part of our wedding.
Yes.
So we're talking about a lot of years.
Yes.
And then we had a couple that came in that's really been a blessing to us that Alicia and I kind of took in as spiritual children as well. So you're going to hear from them also.
All right. The next person we want to introduce is our spiritual daughter, Lauren Ashley, a.k.a. Lauren Lely. Lauren is very, very dear to our hearts. She became our spiritual daughter kind of instantly. And she kind of like stumbled into the role some kind of way. I don't know how, but she did. I met Lauren. I first encountered Lauren at a church that we went to called Life Point. And she has a little baby that every time he would come to children's church, he would cry. So nobody wanted to take him, and she didn't feel comfortable leaving him at children's church because he was going to just, hum and scream. So I was in children's church, and baby came crying. She's like, "Oh Lord!" I said, "Give me that baby." She's like, "But okay, I got my number. So I said, we ain't gonna need that." I said, "Come on." So he cried for a minute. I gave him some snacks. Some other people came, got some toys together, and then he was ready to go on his own. You see what I'm saying? So that's how our story began. Lord and behold, we didn't realize that we were co-workers. We worked in the same building and didn't even know it. So God has a funny way of connecting people.
Yeah, He does.
And so we worked together and just started developing a relationship. I had told her about a book study I was doing, and she was like, "Oh, I know her. I follow them. I want to be a part of that book study." And I was like, "Okay, come on, girl. Let's do it." And the rest is history. She joined the book study. My husband got to meet her. My husband is really biased when it comes to females because he has a lot of daughters. Yeah, we're just going to go and put that out there. So I think that's how Lauren kind of like fell into the position of spiritual daughter.
It's my personality. They love me.
and Lauren too. She can speak from every aspect. She can speak from the single. She can speak from the marriage. She can speak from life after marriage, because she has endured them all at such an early age.
Yes.
Because she's still young, right?
I sure is.
So that is Miss Lauren. Okay. Good. And last but not least, I adopted this young man. I was trying to get him for one of my daughters, y'all. But
Put people on the spot.
they told me I need to stay in my place. They told me to stay in my place. But I got nieces too. Her mama said, "Can't you tell?" But Josh. Come on up, Josh. I fell in love with Josh as soon as I saw his nice smile. What's up, cute?
Well, over here.
No, a son, a mother-son situation.
Yes.
But Josh is, if you saw the poster when you first came in, Josh did that picture. He's a photographer. And that's his own private business. But he also has other things he does too. I haven't known Josh long, but you know how you know when you connect with somebody, you know their spirit is good and everything. So that's what he kind of just drew me in. I don't know. His parents are pastors, so he is not new to the ministry world, thank goodness. And he has a wealth of information as well, from the single aspect, from a male's perspective in today's society of being single. So I know that he has some good nuggets for us to share with all of us, you know, that may have daughters, nieces, granddaughters, whatever the case may be, okay? Yeah. So that is Josh.
I wanted to add one more thing about this relationship when we talk about relationships in the Lord. He sets things up so far in advance that you don't even know about it, and then you fall into it, and then the first thing you say, small world. And it really wasn't a small world. It's God has started orchestrating things and lining people up to know each other, to fulfill a plan or a purpose that he may have for those two people, to draw something from one another. And that's what happened with Rita and I. Rita's mother and my mother went to school together in North Carolina.
Wow.
And we met at a church, didn't even know each other. Wow. And then we got on the same evangelistic team.
That's right.
And altar works ministry. What else? Come on, mister. Don't forget. But I'm saying that sometimes God says he puts such a value on relationships that he'll set things up so far in advance. And we'll say, like, what a coincidence, or small world. Understand, God is moving. God is setting things up. And he wants this person to pull something out of that one and vice versa. I want y'all to work together. And we worked together in ministry for a long time and was there to help each other. And then she came along when Alicia and I got married. She was a strong child for me when I was going through some challenges. So relationships are very important to the Lord. And we can't just brush them off. And God will tell us which ones we're not supposed to be in. You'll get it. It's just whether or not you're going to listen to it or not. This was one of the ones I was supposed to get. And we've known each other for over 20 years. Over 20 years. So just keep that in mind. I want to sow that little bit of a seed. And we're going to start this program, okay? All right, start this questioning.
All right. So, without further ado, let's see where we going to start at. Where y'all think we should start at? Okay, let's just find out a little bit. Let's just find out, get some wisdom. Okay. All right, can you guys shed some light on being single during the pandemic? How did you guys handle the pandemic, being single? Who wanted to do that? You look like you got it.
I wasn't technically
You wasn't single yet.
So I was already on lockdown. There wasn't too much difference. My whole entire body was on lockdown. Been on lockdown for many, many years. I have cobwebs in a lot of places. So I was on lockdown, and during the pandemic, it did not change. I have an interesting job, so I had to go to work. I really was not in the house. They sent me home like March 18th. I had to go in, my superiors, my directors or whoever, they called me in and they was like, you are essential, and so therefore you're going to work. So I can't tell you where I was working and what I was doing, but I went to work throughout the entire pandemic. Still on lockdown, but I was with who I was with, not saying in a relationship. I was not in a relationship with anyone. outside of the good Lord. Because to tell you the truth, I was like, I don't want to go out there and catch nothing. People dying all over the place and all of that. So I was a little bit like trying to not have no fear, but I did have some at first. And the Lord brought me through. It was just my daughter and I. We lived together. And so I just took one day at a time. I stayed connected. And we had a prayer group that was most powerful. Most powerful. So I would pray with the prayer group. Some of the people are sitting right in this room right now. We prayed. We had a daily prayer. Alicia and Amala, everybody was in this prayer group. We have a little strong, powerful team of people that I was connected to. So that's, in all honesty, in a nutshell, that's kind of pretty much how I went through the pandemic. We had, I got on Zoom and did the Zoom church things when I felt like it, because I wasn't one to be on Zoom. I had never been on Zoom before. I had never teleworked or none of that. So I really didn't like it. I wanted to be, in on the inside. I didn't like being at home watching the TV, if you will, and looking at people and talking. It was just different. Something I had to get used to. That really was somewhat of a challenge for me, was doing the Zoom thing. But it all worked out, and I just stayed connected to the people in the body of Christ. And as people, was led to me, I just stayed connected, did a lot of praying. Sometimes I studied. I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't 24/7 in my word. I was crocheting and doing some other things.
Amen.
Yeah, so that was pretty much me.
That's it.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I was trying to think, what could I share? God is intentional, because the pandemic happened like 2020, the beginning of 2020. I was in the middle of like separation at that point in time, but I was right before that. I was still living in the house with my ex-husband and my kids and everything. But it was the most uncomfortable situation ever. But I was so scared to like move on my own, because I had never lived on my own. And I was like, my kids, they live in a house. I'm gonna have to move somewhere. I got 4 kids. Like, where can I afford to live without it being a box and us living in the hood somewhere? So I was like terrified. But I was in therapy at that point in time, and I will never forget. My therapist said to me one day, be intentional about the desires of your heart, and don't allow your emotion to distort your vision. So when he told me that, I was like, well, my goal is just to move and have peace. Like, how do I get to that? And everybody kept telling me, don't worry what it look like, Lauren. God will work it out for you, So I remember the end of November, beginning of November, looking at apartments in Waldorf. I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, why would an apartment ever cost this much? So I went to this 1 2-bedroom and a den. And I walked in there, and I will never forget, it was like perfect. I was just like, I had a whole plan. We're going to be here for a little bit, and we're going to move on. My daughter will have her own room. The boys can share the room. I have my own space. They on one side of the apartment. I'm on the other side of the apartment. We got 2 bathrooms. Okay, it's going to work out. That apartment I went to was the apartment I wound up moving in. Like, it was perfect. Like, God set that up for me. So then I moved in December of 2019. The pandemic came, February, March 2020. And I was just like, God was already lining all of that up. He needed me to hear those words in order for me to jump and move and do what he needed me to do. Because had the pandemic started and I was going to be in that house, I probably would have been in jail somewhere. Like, y'all probably would have seen me on the news and not sitting right here on this couch. Like, so that's what I was doing during the pandemic. And then just keep going, because it was a different situation. Like, I was still married at the time, but just trying to figure out life and trust God. Like, I stayed in my devotionals, and every morning watching sermons. I would fall asleep watching sermons, because your mind be running. Laying in a room, my kids are gone, like I'm by myself, thoughts going crazy, but like I kept on track, just staying in my word and listening to sermons and just listening to self-help stuff and staying in therapy. And here I am today.
I had one question for Lauren since you got the mic. So how are you flowing now in your singleness? You identified you had 4 children.
Yeah.
So how are you navigating now in your singleness? Because at one point you were like, I'm gonna do this. Now you're there. So how are you navigating through it?
went and got my house built, and I'm living life in my house with my kids, and they got space to run around, and I'm just focusing on Lauren because I got married at let me first back up. I had a kid at 19, then another kid at 22, got married at 24, so I never had a chance to be by myself or really figure out who Lauren was. So in this moment right now, I enjoy my peace. I enjoy my alone time. I enjoy just being able to spend time with Lauren, because I've never been able to do that, and it's pretty amazing. It's awesome.
That was a bit of an adjustment.
It was a huge adjustment because at first, when my kids left, I was like, what I'm supposed to do? I don't know what I'm gonna do. I didn't want to go out, or nothing like that. But now, what we doing? Where we going? Sign me up, or just sit at home. I went on my first solo trip by myself to Virginia Beach for the weekend.
Very good.
I didn't want to come back, but it was just a liberating experience because before, my family got to go with me. Or I would have probably been scared to go alone by myself, but it was just no, girl, you like yourself, remember? Spend time with yourself. Do something for yourself. And that's all I kept saying when I sat on the balcony. I was like, I did this by myself. I did this for me. And it was just awesome.
Amen. That's good. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Josh.
All right, so I guess just back to what Lauren was saying of God being intentional. The pandemic was interesting for me. I lived out in Alexandria probably for the last 4 years, and rent just kept going up, and I was asking myself, why am I still paying this rent to live in this 1-bedroom apartment in Alexandria? Once the pandemic came, my job decided that they was going to go fully remote, and my rent was going up again, and my parents had just got a house built, and they was like, you should come home, you can have the basement, you can do whatever you want, you can just come back, and I'm like, I ain't trying to come back and live with y'all, man. I'm 30 years old. I'm not trying to come back and do that. But what the pandemic did for me, it really slowed everything down. I'm a super social person. I'm always out. I'm always doing something. And when the pandemic came, I didn't have that opportunity to do that. I decided to go back to my parents, and everything really just slowed down for me, which was a good thing because I was moving so fast. So not to be insensitive, I've lost people because of the pandemic, but it really was one of the best things that could have happened to me because it slowed everything down. It even, with relationships, not being able to just go out on a date, you know what I'm saying, and having to sit in the house and talk to somebody on FaceTime all day or talk to you on the phone and just kind of get to know you on a different level. The pandemic really enhanced that because it wasn't just, all right, I think you're cute, you think I'm cute, let's go out. You couldn't do that because you couldn't go outside. So it really did enhance the relationships, just even my friendships, my relationship with my parents. So I would say being single in the pandemic was very, very interesting, but it's really helped me a lot financially. I'm still with my parents now, but I'm about to be with Lauren at by the end of the year. I'm working with my lender to move out. So the pandemic really shifted up some things and got my focus on more of an adult lifestyle instead of me just out here going, doing whatever I want to do, come to church on Sundays, still going to do what I want to do. Like she mentioned, my parents are pastors, so I didn't have that luxury of just being like, I can't come to church on Sunday, and I text daddy later. It's more so like, why you not up getting ready to go to church? So I will say even in that pandemic, it really enhanced and strengthened my relationship with God too. So as a single man, I was very grateful just for what the pandemic did for me.
Amen. All right. I think everybody can attest to the fact that the pandemic either made you communicate or leave, unfortunately. People didn't know, you know why? Because the job or whatever other activity outside the house gave you that out to not be able to communicate or know that person better. And this pandemic came, and now I got to sit down and talk to this person. And we have never done this. We got together for the wrong reasons. And now we got to communicate. How do we do this? So I know. And
Living with the enemy, sleeping with the enemy.
You know, and Alicia and I can share our story where we had some intense fellowship during the pandemic. You know what I mean? Because you're around each other all the time. So you got to learn how to communicate. It taught us how to be more understanding. It taught us how to be more patient. And it's still teaching us. So it wasn't like we came through this joke of like, yeah, we got this. No, we had some challenges. And I'm sure everybody that was either in a relationship, whether you're married or just in a relationship as a whole, this pandemic was a challenge. But I'm going to swing something back to the panel. How do you feel about dating now as singles?
Who wanna tackle that?
It's ghetto.
Elaborate.
I like being single.
Do you like being single? Because of what you've seen, experienced?
Yes.
Okay. You want to elaborate a little bit more?
Josh and I was actually having a conversation and about this particular thing. And from what I'm seeing, like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm trying to figure out what people's parents was doing and how they were raising their kids, because it's a lot of grown men out here that are little boys and don't even know, and not even in a sense of maturity wise. They don't have careers, they have never left home other than to live with somebody, and then situations happen and the only option they can do is go back home, not for, the only thing they can do is go back home. And that is that's scary, because here I am, I got 4 kids, I got a career, I can afford to live on my own with my 4 kids. So somebody got to come up to the plate, and at least be able to bring something to the table. I'm not saying that you got to be what I am and all of that, but a lot of people can't even begin to even, like, meet me 3/4 of the way. So I like to be by myself. And God whenever the time is right, God gonna bring whoever, whatever,
Right.
however to me. We talk about that all the time, and I don't know what he's trying to do, but right now he just want me to be single. So because he's showing me all ghetto, like, and he's showing me, and I don't want to backtrack.
I want
So
that.
I'm trying to grow up, and I don't want nobody to set me back. So
I like that.
being by myself just works out a lot better. I like myself a lot.
All right,
Amen.
now.
Amen.
Josh, you wanna elaborate, since y'all was already having that conversation?
Sure.
Bring us into the
Say
conversation.
the question one more time.
The question,
So the question was, how do you feel about dating now as a single?
How do I feel about dating now? I would agree with what Lauren said. It's interesting out here, especially at our generation too. Everybody is either ready to be married tomorrow, or you just end up in a situationship that just keeps going and going and going, and it never turns into anything. So I'm kind of at a place right now where I am focused on, I won't say other things besides dating, but I'm kind of more of the, if it happens, it happens, instead of me going to like look for it type of thing sometimes, because I think sometimes when you do that, you can mess yourself up a little bit. My family always tells me, oh, you gonna be the one to be in 7-Eleven and drop your keys and look up, and you gonna meet this girl, and then y'all gonna mess around and get married the next day. Cause that's just how I am sometimes with my planning and certain things. But dating is interesting. I feel like, and I guess back to what Lauren was saying, because of the things that we see and the things that you've experienced, sometimes it just makes you not even want to deal with it. And I think I was at that place a little bit more. I'm a little bit more open now with me trying to like get myself together. I'm about to buy a house and certain things like that. But before it was kind of like, what am I dating for? I'm moving back in with my parents. I'm getting my money right. So it just didn't feel like I should have the privilege of me dating, and I wasn't even in the place of life where I wanted to be.
That's good.
You know, and I know some people, I've had ladies tell me, oh, that's an excuse, I can help you through it. But it's like, no, I just want to kind of get myself to where I want to get to. And then let me try to focus on the rest of those things. So being that now I'm kind of getting to that place where I'll be out of my parents' house by the end of the year, thank God. I appreciate them. I appreciate them, but just to be able to get out is kind of opening my eyes a little bit more to, okay, well, I'll have a little bit more of my space, so maybe I will put myself in that position, because putting yourself out there is the hardest part, because you don't want to be let down. And I think that's for anybody. Men, we might not say it as much because you don't want to, you know, your pride or whatever it is, but I know for especially, you just don't want to get let down and be left in the dirt looking crazy. And I think everybody's had those situations where you've been left in the dirt, so it's kind of, you still look down and see some of that dirt, and you're like, I'm not trying to get dirty again. So, but I will say I'm at a place now where I'm more open to it because I feel like I'm in a better place of my life.
Amen. You want to?
No.
Okay. All right. Did you want to elaborate on something?
No, you didn't want me to elaborate.
You want to get some wisdom on that?
Let's see.
I got a question for Rita then. How have you been benefiting through your singleness?
Oh my God, I love it. I am in a very happy place in my life being a single woman. I have so many things going on. I am extremely busy. Being an associate pastor, being a grandmother to a 16-year-old, my two daughters. I'm all about my family. Had some challenges. Lost my mom not too long ago, so I was taking care of her. I really didn't even have time to date, in all honesty. Now that she's went on, that has freed up some of my time, because I was 24/7 around the clock with my mom. I lost my job and everything, but she was my big baby, so I took care of her very well until she transitioned. And then I had time to regroup. I had to regroup from that because it was a lot. And so dating wasn't on my mind at the time. And then I dated this guy. I tried to give him an opportunity, but so with me, you gotta bring, I don't play the baseball game. You gotta bring more than your bat and your two balls. You can't, I just don't do that. You have to. I don't play the baseball game. If you wanna play the baseball game, go to the Washington Nationals and see them. I told you all, I am very transparent. I do not tolerate the nonsense at all. I did all of that at their age. So I'm very mature and I'm very selective. Not that I think I'm all that, but I do think I'm all that because I believe what Jesus said about me, that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So you gotta step to the plate and you gotta bring more than that body of yours. All your look good and all of that don't matter to me. What's in your heart? Do you love God? Can you present me? Can you present me to the Lord like He said, present me? So though I look for different things now. And I'm not desperate by a long shot. No, not by a long shot. So I will give you an opportunity. It's not like I got them lined up, but I'm good with where I am now. And I talk to the Lord. When I get lonely, says Rita, I say, Lord, if you don't touch that, I'm going to take care of that. So please do what you do. And He's been, I told you I got cobwebs all over the place, and He keeps me. He watches over me. He protects me. He is my all in all until He sends me someone. But to be truthful with you, if He sends me somebody, amen. And if He doesn't, amen. I didn't think I would ever get to that place. But I'm there today, and I'm not just talking. I'm there today. It's okay being single. I love me some Rita Moore.
You know one thing I like about Rita, but everybody that's coming up, transparency, y'all. You know, as believers, we feel like we got to tiptoe through the tulips and talk. Let's be real about this thing, all right? Jokers got urges. You know, you got desires. And you used to beat around the bush, and we all adults in this room. Ain't no children in here. So we ain't holding back. I'm just going to say that. We ain't holding back. Not trying to offend anybody, but folks can be raw. Let them be raw. Let them hear where they are. Might help somebody.
That's right. How many singles we got in the house? All right. My singles is representing up in the house. Do we have any questions for our panelists before they share some tips, some tools, some strategies to help them through this season?
So the first thing for me is accountability. I'm accountable because I know me. I know what I'm capable of. And so I'm accountable because I want to live right and do right. I'm not super spiritual, extracalidocious because I'm a pastor. I'm not. I have desires and needs, and there are moments when I feel like I want a man to hold my hand or a man to take me out or to don't do the all girls thing. I just want to sit in the presence of a man. So I'm very careful because that platonic so-called relationship can be more than just friends. So I'm saying to you, sisters, be accountable. Have someone that you trust that's not just going to feed you any old thing and tell you what you want to hear, but they're going to check you and say, no, baby, hold up. That ain't right. Don't do that. Or, when I feel like I'm somewhat saddened at times because I am single. And so I will call my connections and maybe we'll sit and talk about it and go over things and she might cry with me and we'll go to the Isley Brothers concert and have a good time. Yes, we will. And that's what we did recently. And so Ron Isley threw me a rose, so that worked for me for a long time. He sure did. So I get out. I get out. I go to different things. Believe me, just because you're a pastor don't mean that you can't go out and have a nice time. Just know who you represent. So for me, it's accountability. That's number one, accountability. Don't be slipping and sliding, pee on the floor, swim under the door, do it like that. Don't do it. Tell somebody where you are. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. That's number one for me, accountability. And then wait on God. I know it might seem like forever, but it's really, God knows what he's doing, and he's not going to connect you to a donkey or a chicken. Now, if you choose to take that, that's on you. But God will put you with the right person. And I used to say, well, God, how do you know this and how do you know that? Let me say this to you. Pay attention to the alarms because you do get them. Now, back in the day, I would ignore him like he wasn't talking to me. No, God, you ain't talking to me. No. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But I tell you what, Sister Rita don't play. When the alarms come up, I be like, yep, God, that's you. I said, God, if you show me, you send an alarm, I'm going to not act like you ain't talking to me. I'm going to receive it right away. Right away. I'm not going to argue with you and go back and forth like I used to because I want. Sound like keep sweating. No, baby. God, I hear you. You talking to me? Got it. If you say, Rita, hold up, wait a minute. Back it up. He ain't for you. I'm running with the Lord. I mean that. I'm serious about my relationship with God so much so that I'm willing to be obedient now. And I used to wasn't. Be obedient because he will talk. God is a talking God and he will talk to you and tell you what's right. And if you don't receive it, shame on you.
Okay. So, yeah. She said.
I have a question.
Okay. Let me get this question over here.
Okay, my question is for anyone who wants to answer this on the panel. What role has social media played, plus or minus, in terms of being single, dating, the whole gambit? What role has social media played in your lives?
Literally, we was talking about that too. Social media provides a false narrative and a fairy tale of what the world and reality is, what a relationship is, what a marriage is, what having kids is, what dating is. And I think that as long as social media is prevalent the way that it is going to destroy the dating pool. It's going to destroy marriages. It's going to make people not even want to get married. So I think social media is a good tool, don't get me wrong, but you got to use it the right way, and you definitely have to be a strong-willed individual to filter out the things that can consume you, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So yes, I think social media is a very bad tool for dating and
If you use it
relationship.
Yeah.
No,
No?
I think if you're using it for you, I mean, maybe it's my generation. I don't know.
Okay. That's
But it's clout.
okay.
It's look at my body, look at my outfit.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you the highlight of my life right now, but I'm gonna go home and my man beating on me. I'm gonna show y'all that we can go on vacation, but we didn't pay daycare for 6 months so that we could go on this vacation. I'm gonna show you that I'm out on a date with a man right now, but I had to go through a whole lot to even get to this point. You know, I had to give my body or do something like that in that regard. Or you looking at marriages, everybody's posting their wedding pictures or their, fairy tale wedding on here, but is the marriage really as strong as the pictures that you posting? So I just think that it just provides an overall fairy tale to a false narrative of what life and reality really is. Because marriage is cool. Yeah, if I can show y'all all my highlights of marriage on the Instagram, y'all gonna be like, oh, that's couple goals. I want to be just like that. But they don't have no real relationship outside the pictures, So I think it gives a highlight of your life. You are able to tell a picture. You're able to depict the story of what you want your viewers or your followers to see. And it's not really reality 9 times out of 10. I remember people saying to me when they found out I got divorced, but y'all look so happy, y'all this and that. And not that we weren't,
Right.
but I don't post when I'm sad and I'm crying on there, so
Right.
you only see and there are people, don't get me wrong, they be like, they took my dog, he took everything from me, but you don't really see that.
Right.
You really see, unless it's a celebrity or something,
Right.
then you're like, oh my gosh. But us normal people, we're like, post for the picture, baby. Then you get out the picture and y'all don't even talk. That's what's happening in real life.
Gotcha.
And I've seen it with my own eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
We got another question before
I
you.
think Josh want to.
You want to be?
I was just gonna say I would agree. I do think it's how you choose to use social media, but I think especially I know I keep saying our generation, but it's just so much access. It's so much access, and I think me and Lauren were talking earlier. Just seeing our parents, seeing our grandparents, seeing that foundation, just seeing seeing people be married for 20, 30 years. Having that idea, but then getting on social media, and it's just so much up there. It's just so much up there. I mean, you can wake up one day and somebody like 30 of your pictures. And now you like, oh, she didn't like 30 of my little pictures. Maybe I should message her first. You know what I'm saying? And then it's that temptation, because you could be in a whole relationship with somebody, but then you see this girl and you see the type of pictures that she's posting, or you just happy that, this person's kind of interested in me. So now it's like, well, I know I really love my girlfriend, I really love my wife, but let me just go like a couple of her pictures. Let me go like a couple of their pictures. And normally that's how, even in my situation where I think a lot of the people that I've met or entertained or dated, it has been from social media. And it didn't start from me just saying, hey, how you doing? I'm Josh. It started from, you liked a couple of my pictures? I liked a couple of your pictures. You like a couple more of my pictures? And then I'm like, all right, yeah, I know you feeling me now, so now I can say something. So it kind of takes away the personalness of actually having to come up to somebody and say, hey, how you doing? I'm Josh. I'm even in my situation where I think a lot of the people that I've met or entertained or dated, it has been from social media. And it didn't start from me just saying, hey, how you doing? I'm Josh. It started from, you liked a couple of my pictures? I liked a couple of your pictures. I really think you're attractive. I want to get to know you. You don't have to do that no more. You go like 10 pictures and you already know, oh, I'm in there.
Yeah.
You like me.
Wow.
You know, so I would
Slide
just
in the
say,
DM.
yeah, just slide in the DM. That's a real thing.
And I just want to say, I ain't on no social media. I don't know Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Now, I'm sure Dinosaur is unbelievable. Cobweb's there too. I just do not do social media. And this is about as social as get for real.
Okay, we got a question over here.
I was, thank you for the answers, but listening to you, Rita, you said something that stood out to me because you said wait on God, but a lot of times single people struggle with what that looks like.
Okay.
And the reason is because, well, the Bible says faith without works is dead. So if I got to actively believe God for this, waiting on God, what does that look like? So the question is, what would you say to single people? How can I actively wait on God?
Okay, that's a very good question. And I have to I've lived that, and I'm living it now, waiting on God. First of all, you have to establish a healthy relationship with God. See, because if you don't establish a relationship with Him, you're certainly not going to know how to wait. Because He's the one that directs you every single day. You have to consult with Him as soon as you wake up and you're alive. You start with your prayers in the morning. And you can't be fake with it. See, because you don't know how to wait because you're fake. You want what you want when you want it. Yes, you're being controlled by your flesh. But if you let your spirit overtake you, you can definitely wait. It looks like this. Like today, I'm waiting. It looks like trusting God when He talks to you, because He does talk to you. So you have waiting means to make the right choice every single day. Okay, so somebody is presented to you. You go to God. God, I met this guy and he was this, that, and the third. Show me everything about him I need to know.
That's good.
Everything. And when He starts showing you, journal it, because He's going to show you. He's going to show you about this brother. And if it don't add up, if the Lord say, you know what, Rita, stop right there. Here it is right here in black and white. I'm giving it to you. Stop. You have a decision to make. Are you going to listen to God? Are you going to do what you want to do? That's how waiting looks. Waiting really means trusting in God. What you cannot see and what you don't know. You have to believe what He says versus what your body is telling you. Because most of the time, our body overtakes us. And if you don't have a relationship with God, you're not going to wait on nothing. You're going to settle for any and everything. Mentally, financially, all of it. You won't do right. Waiting on God means to do right and listen to Him tell you what to do every single day, and sometimes hour by hour. You got to have a good relationship with Him. You got to believe what His word says. You can't believe what man says. Man will fail you. I'm not saying that you can't have a relationship and waiting on God. Even if you do enter into a relationship, are you talking to God about it? Did you forget about God and put Him on the shelf? Oh, now you got your man, so you're happy? No, that's how you end up running down the aisle saying, I do, when you don't. Because you did not listen to what God told you. You heard what you wanted to hear, and you did what you wanted to do. Don't let your flesh overtake you. I know what I'm talking about. I used to do it. I've been with 78 men. 78. Duh. When you going to figure it out, Rita? When you going to pay attention? And after I tried all of them 78, went to the baseball field. Come on now, and I'm still by myself today. But that's by choice now, not by force. There are many forces that cause you. Waiting don't mean listen to your girlfriend because she got somebody. She ain't happy. Not for real, for real. You don't see what's going on behind the scenes. He ain't put a ring on it. He didn't. And even if you put a ring on it and you still waiting 2 years later and you still ain't married, who you waiting on, him or the Lord? Which one? Waiting means to trust God and grow in your relationship with him and let him lead you and guide you and instruct you and direct you, correct you. Let him do it. That's what waiting looks like. I'm waiting. I'm happily waiting. Like I told you, I never thought I would get to this part. I was the super hoe. I had it all together, the dressed up one, dressed up, look good, smell good, and thought I was all of that. And was so messed up on the inside, so beat up. The hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life was accept me. That's the hardest thing I ever had to do, was accept me and love me for who God said I was, not who man said I was. I took a lot of labels and I answered to a lot of things. Started real young in my childhood, from being molested in the whole nine, trying to wonder why my body parts all over the place, because it started 9 years old. Oh, you want to know what it looked like, baby? It looks like me today. I'm so waiting on God. Amen. I trust him with everything I got. Come on, girl. And I mean that. Amen. That there, I hope I answered you right, and I'm hoping I'm helping somebody else. Because God is good. Yes. He is faithful. All you got to do is trust him. Trust him. I'm talking to somebody ain't trusting God. You didn't ask that question just by chance, baby. No. Trust God and know that he got you. Amen. Yes. Yes, sir. He got you. Yes. I love Jesus. Everything of he is my all in all. And that's the real McCoy. Come on, man. Come on.
You want us all to
All right. I think that's a good segue to any more questions. I think that kind of sealed the deal. Y'all waiting?
They said like I ain't answered nothing.
Y'all ain't got nothing else to say, do you?
Can I add something to that?
Go
From what I
ahead.
have experienced. So I was a junior version of Miss Rita. And I couldn't trust God for a long time, because I was like, I want a relationship, and that was I got back story a little bit. Being adopted, my only one thing in life was to have my own family. Like that was my dream from as long as I can remember. Have my own family, something that nobody could take away from me. So when that was taken away, I was empty, and I was trying at every angle to replace that void and that emptiness that I was feeling, because I felt incomplete without having a family. I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to have a family. I'm supposed to be a mom. I'm supposed to be a wife. And I tried the dating thing and everything, but God was like, I'm gonna show you a little bit. And I'm going to shake some things up for you a little bit. It ain't even going to be nothing like what you think it is. So waiting on God and trusting God, to me now looks like living in my purpose, doing what God called me to do. And God reminds me daily that as long as you do that, I will take care of the rest. Faith without works is dead, but if you're not working, I can't move. So to me, that's what waiting looks like. Doing what God is telling exactly me to do to accomplish his will for me on earth. And he will put the pieces together, and I see it. I've seen where I was 3 years ago. We prayed before we came out here. And as Milo and Alicia both were praying, I could just see the last 3 years of my life flashing through my eyes to this moment. Because I was weak. Well, I weighed like 115 pounds. I don't weigh that no more. Clearly, that's evident. But that's me trusting God and believing God. I was depressed. But the moment that God pulled me up, I promised to stay up from that moment on. And he showed me that I can take you from something and I can restore everything. It may not look like what you think it's going to look like, but it'll look exactly like what he intended for it to look like. So to anybody who is in the season of trying to figure out how to wait, remember what he's taking you through. And remember that you are no longer in that place. And I know at the time it could have seemed like you would never get out of that, but he took you out of it because you're here today. So when it gets hard, remember that. Remember where you were and how you're not there anymore. And it will make waiting a lot easier. And know that God will answer his prayers the way that he sees fit, not how you see fit. Let go of your will for your life and allow God to put his will for your life into place.
Captain Officer, you good?
Sure, I'll say something.
Okay, go ahead. Brother has something to say.
No, I think it's just as the ladies were talking, I just was thinking, and I think sometimes too, when we think of waiting, we think of just, nobody likes to wait. Nobody want to wait for your food. Nobody want to wait at the grocery store. You just don't want to wait. It's not a good thing to do. Well, you wouldn't think it's a good thing to do. And I think the way I was just looking at it as both the ladies were talking today were, waiting doesn't have to be a bad thing. And waiting doesn't have to just mean that you're standing still.
That's right.
That you're just standing there and everybody, life is just passing you by, everybody's just passing you by. You're seeing this person get married, you're seeing this person get in a relationship, you're seeing the pictures on Instagram. I don't think that waiting just means you just sit there and just wait for something to come and smack you in the face. You know, and I think staying actively waiting is a good thing. And I think just even if I think the first question we had asked was, like, what advice would you give to single people? And I think in that time of waiting, of really just figuring yourself out. And I think in that waiting period, that's the type of stuff that you should be doing. Trying to figure yourself out, trying to make sure that you love yourself, trying to make sure you know what I'm saying? I had so many situations where a young lady would say, oh, but I just really care about you, and I just this, that, and the third, and I'm like, I don't know, I can't believe you, I don't know. And it was because I didn't care about myself. I didn't love myself. So you can want to give me all the love in the world, but if I don't love myself, but I want a relationship, but I don't love myself, that's hard. So I think actively waiting is kind of the best advice that I would give to people, and still making sure that you're doing stuff for you. One thing that I know I like to do, I love to travel, and I love to travel by myself. So that's just my thing. And I think whatever it is that you like to do, go out and do those things. You know what I mean? I go to the movies by myself. I go to a restaurant by myself. You know what I mean? I go to Mexico by myself. You know what I mean? And I think those are the things of that actively waiting, where you don't feel like you're just sitting around waiting for somebody to come scoop you up. Because then that could feel like forever. You know what I mean? If you go to the grocery store, all the food is there, and it's just like they just waiting for somebody to pick it up. They just sitting there like, pick me. It's 10 different brands of bread. And they just asking you to pick me. Pick me. And I think that's the thing of that actively waiting, making sure that you're still doing stuff to keep yourself up. Because you never know. You might go to that concert or go somewhere and you meet somebody that's connected to you. But if you just waiting and sitting in the house all day, you know what I mean, and just self-loathing because you just want something so bad. And I think that's the thing too, not wanting anything so bad.
That's right.
Because once you get desperate, or once you want something so bad, the enemy can throw anything in your path to just try to get you out of the season that you're supposed to be in. So that's the thing I would say, waiting is just not stagnantly waiting, but actively waiting for the next thing to happen to you.
That's
right?
right.